Hey everyone, welcome or welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Karlie. This is a mostly knitting podcast where sometimes we do talk about other things like sewing or natural dyeing, but today we have all knitting to talk about, so let's get into it. Before we get into the projects and everything that I'm currently working on, I do have an update and some announcement for you all. So the brick and mortar socks, that pattern that I've mentioned here a amount of times, and for the past maybe year or so I've been working on it. I'm really happy to say that it is finally released and now live on Ravelry. So that is linked down below. If you're interested, you can go check it out. I'm so proud of this one. It's been a long time coming. I think, like I said, I started this maybe almost a year ago, which sounds so crazy for a sock pattern, but if you've been here a while, you'll know that I struggle with daily pain that can be sometimes quite debilitating and get in the way of my production levels and how productive I can be. And sitting in front of the computer and just trying to get the details and trying to make this sock pattern clear and get all the numbers right was such a challenge at the beginning of writing this pattern back in March or April or whenever it was that I started. And sometimes I would just give myself like 10 or 20 or 30 minutes, whatever it was I could handle that day, to just work on the pattern, work on the knitting of the pattern, or writing down the pattern. And so it's really exciting to me that this is finally released and that I finished it, and I had help from many people. So you all know who you are. So thank you so much, and thank you for the testers and Ignis, my tech editor. It's just really exciting to me that I finally got this out. It seemed like a huge project, and for me it really was. And so yeah, I just wanted to share that with you all, that the sock is now finally live on Ravelry after a year or so of me talking about it and having not been able to share the pattern with you. So yes, it's out there now, linked down below if you're interested. I also started a different Instagram where I will be sharing all of my pattern releases, my current sock pattern I've been sharing through there, and any future sock patterns that I'll be releasing will be shared through that Instagram. I'll also be sharing a lot of my hand-dyed, naturally dyed skeins of yarn on there, as I'll be selling those soon. So if you're interested in checking that out, feel free, and thank you so much. All right, let's get into my projects for this episode. I only have one finished object, and it's what I'm wearing. So this is the Field Day jacket by Ozetta. I shared this briefly on my last podcast episode, and I was just working on, I think it was this sleeve, doesn't really matter. I just had maybe 7 rounds done of this first sleeve, and I really wanted to have it done for the next episode. So I believe that was about a week and a half ago. And I finished this maybe a week ago, and I've been wearing it so much since then. It's just one of my favorite things in the entire world. I cannot get enough of this sweater, and I already want to make more, but I'm also loving and enjoying this finished piece, and I just know already that this is going to be something that I cherish for years and years to come, and something that I'm just so excited to put on every single day. And I think that excitement will last throughout the coming months, because of course it's always really exciting when you get an finished object and it's newly like fresh off the needles and it's exciting to wear. But sometimes, for me anyway, that excitement can start to fizzle out or fade away a little bit. But I just don't anticipate that happening for this sweater, because everything about it is just what I love in clothing, like the shape of it, the colors, the feel. It all came together so well. So yeah, I'm just beyond, if you can't tell, I'm beyond excited about this piece. So I did knit size 1, so the first size, and I knit this in Neuro Viola in the color 27. So this is kind of like a worsted weight 100% wool yarn. And I used 5mm needles, and this one took me October 23rd to January 13th. And in that time frame, I think there's maybe about a month in there that I did not work on it, as like gift knitting and other projects kind of took its place. But I also did crop this quite a bit, so it's a lot shorter than what the pattern is intended to be. So it took me a lot less time, but I'm just I'm so happy with it. I highly recommend this jacket and this pattern and this yarn too. I could not be more excited about this piece. So I think what really drew me to knitting this was that the button band is knit as you go. So you actually start, if I remember correctly, you start with the back panel piece, because this is a drop shoulder. So it's kind of like typical drop shoulder construction. You start knitting the back panel piece, and then you break your yarn, or you rest the stitches on scrap yarn or needles or whatever. And then you start knitting the button band, I guess, that goes around here, so the collar part. You start knitting that, and then you put that on hold, I think, and then you pick up for a shoulder, and you start knitting back and forth. And then once it comes sort of to the front here, then you'll join that little strip of that button band that you started, and you join it, and then you start working it as you go. You do the exact same thing for the other side, so you have to continue knitting on that back button band strip. You knit a little bit of it, and then you pick up for your shoulder, and then you knit back and forth a little bit. Then once you come around to the front, you'll start knitting on that button band and continue going down while knitting on the front panel and the button band at the same time. I hope this is making sense. I probably explained that terribly, but then what that does is that leaves a gap at the back from your button band and the back panel piece that you have to seam up later. So I find that all of those little fiddly pieces and fiddly parts of the pattern, I guess, is totally worth it to be able to knit your button band as you go, because I, for one, hate picking up stitches. I don't mind it at all for sleeves or for a collar, but for button bands, when it's something so long and there's just a lot of room for error as far as the rate of picking up stitches, and if the fabric will lay smoothly or if it'll be rippled, and different factors like that, that I find that just doing those little extra bits to get the foundation laid for a button band that is knit as you go is so worth it to me. And going forward, unless I really, really fall in love with a pattern, I'm really going to try and just knit cardigans that have a button band that's knit as you go. So that being said, if you have any cardigan patterns that you know of that has a button band knit as you go, I would love to know what they are. If you don't mind leaving me a comment, and I'd love to check them out, because I really need some more cardigans in my wardrobe. And I know, just based off watching other podcasts and people on Instagram, a lot of people are wanting different cardigans in their wardrobe this year as well, and wanting to focus on that. So I just think, cardigans, you have to purl a lot too, so that's already something that's kind of like a barrier for me, a mental barrier. But if I can not have to pick up stitches for the button band, that's amazing. So anyways, yeah, if you have any recommendations for cardigan patterns, I'd love to hear them. What else can I say about this? I also did afterthought buttonholes, because since I did crop the length of this sweater quite a bit, I just wanted to have a little bit more control as to where I place the buttons. So I just went in after and did afterthought buttonholes, and I found that to be really nice and stress-free and pretty easy to do. I've done them once before, just one buttonhole to create like a hole in a fabric for a tie to go through, and it's really simple and easy. So I really liked doing that when I'm changing the length of a cardigan. So yeah, I'm really happy with this. I also have just been folding the arm cuffs over, and I don't know why, I just kind of have been feeling really comfortable wearing it like that lately. So it's kind of more of like a 3/4 length sleeve when I do that, but I also have the option to keep them down, and it's, let's see where they fall. It falls about like right here on my wrist when my arm's down, which is nice. And for today, I've been wearing it open, but most of the time I've been wearing it closed, and it looks really cute like that too. And I've just been wearing it with a plain tee underneath, and I think it looks really cute. So this is it closed, and you can get a little closer look at the buttons here. The last episode I did ask for your advice on which buttons to go with. I ended up going with these plastic ones just because they are bigger and I think they suited the cardigan better, and I actually just really love the colors in them, and I think they look really cute. So that's all there is to say really about this field day jacket. It is linked down below to my Ravelry page if you're interested in seeing more details. I, again, cannot recommend this enough. I already want to knit another one, and maybe one day I will, but I do have a lot of other sweater quantities of yarn that have different plans for them, so I think it'll be a while until I knit another one, but I'm just really happy to have this in my pattern library and this finished piece in my wardrobe too, because I just think it's going to be so versatile and so amazing. And on these warmer winter days that we've been having here lately, I've been able to wear this as a jacket. I guess it is technically a jacket, but I've been able to wear this outside and it's been really nice. And then I also just wear it inside as a sweater. So I love the versatility, and yeah, I don't know what else to say, just that I really love it. All right, that's all there is for finished objects for this episode, but I do have another sweater that I'm quite far along on, and this is the Cloud Sweater by Petite Knit. I kind of mentioned this last podcast episode. I said that I was thinking of casting this on shortly after I finished this jacket here, and pretty much as soon as I cast this off, I cast on this Cloud Sweater. And this is also my first time knitting a petite knit pattern for myself. I've done the, what is it called? Oh man, I knit it for my boyfriend. I'm completely drawing a blank, but I knit him a sweater from Petite Knit, and then I've knit my niece and nephew Petite Knit sweaters before, but I've never done a women's sweater from her before. So I thought this would be fun and a like kind of different, switching it up a bit. And I also had all of this Drops Wish in my stash that I bought maybe a year and a half ago. So this is the yarn that I'm using. It's Drops Wish. I just fell in love with this color when I saw it at the yarn store. And this is color number 10. Now, I just found this out maybe 2 nights ago, but this yarn is actually discontinued. And I'm really playing yarn chicken right now. Like, it's going to be very tight. I already did a cropped body, and I know I'm going to have to do some cropped sleeves for it. But I'm determined to make it work with what I have. So I think I had 10 balls to start out with. I'm down to 2, and I have a sleeve and a half to do. But yeah, I don't know, did I mention this is bulky? And the whole time I was thinking about, oh, I'm going to use this yarn for the Cloud Sweater. I believe the Cloud Sweater calls for an Aran weight. I thought that this was Drops Air, so I kept looking up Drops Air and seeing that it was Aran weight gauge, if I'm remembering correctly. So I'm like, this is perfect. And then I started knitting, and then like pretty far into it, I realized this was Drops Wish and not Air, and then looked it up and it was bulky weight. So already my gauge is off, which is fine. It fits me. It's just, you know, affects the yardage amount. But we're going to make it work, and I do really love this yarn. It's a shame that it's discontinued, but it's super soft, and it's 50% alpaca, 33% cotton, and 17% wool. So it's one of those, like, I wonder if you can see it. It's one of those yarns that you might be able to see that like cotton core, it's kind of white, and then I believe the rest of the fibers are kind of like blown in there. So it's really soft, and I love this color so much. So I am knitting these on 5mm needles, I believe. Is that right? Yes. And I think the pattern calls for 4.5mm. I didn't gauge swatch. I just kind of wanted to start, and so that's what I did. I'll have some footage off to the side of me wearing it. This was just maybe an hour ago. I have not done any more work on it since. And you'll see that it's quite oversized and big. But yeah, I have quite a bit done. I have the body done. I bound that off yesterday or the night before. Can't remember, and it doesn't matter. Anyway, I did have to do a cropped body because I was worried about how much yarn I would have left. So it is quite cropped, but it's maybe the same length as the sweater I'm wearing now, which I really like because I do wear high-waisted pants 100% of the time. So it works, and I do have a really short torso, so it just kind of works out anyway. But there's so much positive ease in this that I'm a little bit worried about the fit. I know that what I'm going to do with blocking is I'm really going to try and pull it down and get more length, and hopefully that shrinks the width a little. But sometimes you never know, some yarn just kind of likes to grow width-wise and then you shrink in length. Sometimes it's really hard, for me anyway. Sometimes yarn just really wants to dry and bloom and grow the way it wants to. So I'm hoping that if I do try and get this to grow lengthwise, that it'll listen and respond to me. But I do have the collar done, as you can see. I did want to get that on right away and make sure I had enough yarn for that. And this is just a funnel neck. It's just stockinette. It's just a rolled stockinette, and I really, really like that. A couple of details about this sweater that I actually didn't think I would love until it came time, or until I was done the knitting part of it, and then I realized I really love these details, and they're so simple. But it's got pearl bumps or pearl rows on the shoulder, and then also all the way around the armhole. So you can see it all along here and then down here. So just really simple little details like that that I really love. And with this sweater here, okay, I am about just past my elbow, maybe a little bit longer. It's kind of hard to show, and this rolls up so much, so it's longer than it looks. So this goes, oh no, I'm further. I'm like, yeah, you can see my arm there. So that's not bad actually, and I will definitely not have full length sleeves for this sweater, and that's okay because it's quite oversized, as you saw, and the sleeves are going to be bell sleeves, and everything's just going to be kind of like a bell. I think it'll actually be really cute, and I'm okay with that look. So I only have 2 full balls left, and I have this much left for what I'm like currently attached to right here. So I'm going to leave this sleeve on hold. I'm going to pick up stitches for the other sleeve. I'm going to work up until this point. I know I'll have enough yarn to get to this point, and then I'll see how much yarn I have left over after that, and that'll just determine how long the sleeves are. So they're not going to be to my wrist. They'll probably be like this length without it being folded, which I'm okay with because I wear this sweater like this all the time, and maybe it'll just be nice because then I don't have to roll anything up. And yeah, so I also just need to have enough yarn to do this on the sleeves. So it's a few rounds of, it's really rolling here. It's a few rounds of 1x1 rib followed by a few rounds of stockinette just to get kind of like a rolled hem. And after blocking, this will definitely lay more flat. So I just have to get to at least this length on the other side and then have enough yarn to do the rounds of 1x1 ribbing and then the rounds of stockinette and enough to bind off, and then I'll be good to go. And then the sweater's done. So I'm pretty confident that this will be a finished object in the next episode because practically done my one sleeve because they're so short, and then yeah, just the other sleeve to do. And what is nice about this is that it's so oversized on me that the drop shoulder is quite big, so my shoulder maybe sits here and then the drop shoulder's down here, and that bit adds to the sleeve length. So that's kind of been helping me get more length in the sleeve, which is great. So and I'm knitting size 2. And I don't know why I went with size 2 because, well, yeah, I didn't really realize I was going to be so short on yarn. Had I known, then I would have gone to size 1, and had I known that this was going to be so big and oversized, I definitely would have gone to size 1, and then I probably would have been okay yarn-wise for full-length sleeves. But I'm not ripping back. What we have is what we're getting, and I, like, after trying it on and looking at it and knowing that things are going to block out and I can kind of manipulate the fabric, hopefully, I think it's going to be okay, and I think I'm going to be really happy with it. I also don't have too many things that are oversized with this much amount of positive ease. So this has maybe like 10 or 12 inches of positive ease on me. And yeah, I don't have many items like that in my wardrobe, so I think this will be nice and just something different for me to wear. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. Should be done by next episode. I do think that this will take a long time to dry. It's just so dense and so thick, and there's no cold air getting in here. It's gonna be a warm toasty sweater, which is nice. But yeah, I am really excited about it. The color is just so beautiful, and I really love this color, so I'm happy about it. I'm also really happy because I'm getting more yarn out of my stash, which just feels really good. And same with this sweater. This yarn, oh, I don't think I mentioned, this yarn was gifted to me from Knitting Fever, and they sent this to me a little while ago. It's been there for a long time, and I've been wanting to knit on with this yarn for a really long time, and so I'm really happy that that's being used. But you know, with this yarn, I still have like 4 balls of this yarn because each ball is 200 grams. I only used 400 grams and a little bit, so 2 balls and just a tiny amount of a third ball for this whole sweater, so I can still make another sweater out of this yarn, which I'll have to do soon. Anyways, I'm getting so distracted and off topic here, but yes, it felt really good to use up this drop swish, and I think I'm gonna be just fine with the yarn I have left. I just have to be careful and think a little bit more about it as I go, but it'll be really nice to hopefully have almost 0 leftover pieces of yarn that I'll have to deal with, and have all of these balls out of my stash because they're bulky weight and big, and they're hard to store, I find. So it's just like getting all like 10 balls out of my stash this size feels really good. All right, I only have one other object that I'm working on at the moment, and this is just a pair of socks. So I am just doing a little sample knit for some of the colorways that I will be selling soon. So this is a really fun speckled colorway. It is called Strawberry Lemonade. So this is all naturally dyed and on 100% BFL wool. So I dyed up a lot of this colorway, not a lot, maybe 8 skeins, but I was so curious to see what this would knit up like. So I'm just doing a plain vanilla sock, and I've been having a lot of fun knitting on these because I love knitting with speckled yarn for socks specifically, just because it's so fun once you get to each color and like a color change on the strand of yarn. It's so much fun. So this is what I have so far. Been having a blast. I just started these a couple days ago and knitting on them when I can. So this is the top. I have done the heel. I just did a short row heel and a 1x1 cuff. I think this is 15 or 20 rounds for the cuff. And yeah, I'm really happy with them. I think the color is really pretty, and I don't have that much farther to go until the toe. But I've mentioned this before. I really love knitting with these metal Chow-Gu needles. These are 2.25 millimeters. That's always my go-to for sock knitting. And I do magic loop. And I love the combination of these metal needles with this BFL yarn. I don't know why, it just makes it very comfortable for my hands, really enjoyable, and it's almost like a really fast project for me. And sometimes we just want fast projects. And this is what I pick up when I want a fast project where I can see progress really quickly. I just really love working on these. So yeah, not much to say, just a fun speckled colorway. Lots of different yellows and pinks and reds in there. Those are all my projects that I have to share with you all today. I've been pretty much just monogamously knitting lately because I've been finding I'm just getting so much more progress done, which has been so motivating. So I've found that I really like to have a sweater on my needles and then a pair of socks or a hat or something small. Definitely a big project and a little project, and then I can kind of go between those two, and I just have really been liking that pace and that way of making lately. I used to be a type of person that would have maybe 10 whips, maybe more on the go, and I just don't have any interest in doing that anymore because I would just get so frazzled. I would never know which one to work on, and then I would be it would take me forever to decide which one to work on, or I'd pick up one, work on it for a couple of rounds, and the other one, and I'd just get too excited by all these different things that it took so long to finish each project. And I just feel so much more organized and on top of my projects right now, so it feels really good. But you never know, maybe in the future sometimes I'll want to knit on a bunch of different projects on different days, so that could all change. But currently, at the moment, I really love just having a project or two on the go, and it's just giving me a lot of motivation to get some of these things done and enjoy the process too as I am working on them. And I do have a lot of goals this year for what I want to get in my wardrobe because I'm missing a lot of things. So it's nice to kind of keep on track and see these goals getting reached faster than I would have in the past. I think I might do a video about that in the future. I'm not too sure yet. I might actually do one about all of my sweater quantities in my stash and my goals for the following year on how I want to knit through them and when I want to get them done and the plans for them. So yeah, I think that could be really fun, but we will see. I will definitely try and keep up on these regular podcast episodes. I've been really enjoying it. I hope you have all been too. Hope you have all been really enjoying whatever it is you're working on. And yeah, that's it for today. So thank you so much, especially if you hung around till the end, and I'll see you all next time. Until then, happy knitting and happy making. Bye.